And for today's meeting, your presenter is going to be myself and Dave Mayer. Dave Mayer is my colleague on the NDI Technical Assistance team, and he is our DEI Career Pathways subject matter expert. And my name is Miranda Kennedy, and I'm the Director of Training for the DEI. And I will be supporting Dave in his presentation today. So let's go ahead and get started talking about our learning objectives. So our hope for today, our expectation is that all of you who are joining us, and thank you for being with us today, that our DEI grantees and disability resource coordinators will come away from today's presentation able to understand the relationship between DEI and career pathways, strategies, and the link to WIOA, the Workforce Innovations and Opportunities Act. We also hope you'll come away able to explain the 6 systems level elements and each element's components, and be able to assess the current status of your state and regional career pathway system and prepare an action plan to effectively collaborate with different career pathways systems, as well as be able to organize a state and regional career pathways team to demonstrate the value of aligning DEI and career pathways system strategies. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave to talk about our agenda today and get us up and running and start it off. Dave?
Thank you very much, Miranda, and good afternoon to everybody on the phone. I'm very happy to be here, and good morning to all my colleagues to the west of me, West California. I'm interested in getting to today's agenda and to get some of those lofty objectives that were talked about, that Miranda talked about at the beginning. First, we're going to discuss parallels between career pathways and disability employment initiative strategies and how they align so perfectly with Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act priorities. Next section, we'll talk about the elements of an effective career pathway system and those factors needed to develop each one of the elements. Our third focus will be on the steps a state disability employment initiative team can take to understand the state's current career pathway system and prepare an action plan to collaborate with that system. And finally, we'll discuss how the WIOA system is positively affected by a well-developed alignment of career pathways and DEI strategies. Next. So I'm going to pass the ball back to Miranda to begin the conversation on aligning WIOA systems to ensure the development of truly inclusive career pathways models. Miranda?
Thanks, Dave. All right. So WIOA requires that each state plan provide strategies to implement career pathways into WIOA core and partner programs. A focus on coordinated planning increases the capacity of our job centers to serve targeted groups. WIOA also suggests that state and local workforce development boards have standing committees that provide information and to assist with operational and other issues relating to, and this is important, the provision of services to people with disabilities. So states can ask for support to create such a committee from national experts, such as ODEP, Office of Disability Employment Policies staff, the LEAD Center, the National Council on Disabilities, and the Advisory Committee on Increasing Competitive Integrated Employment for Individuals with Disabilities. That last one's a bit of a mouthful. Common performance measures are now a focus of the required core WIOA programs, and this is an area where Title I can assist other core programs to effectively capture and report required WIOA performance data. Section 188 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of race. Section 188 also requires that reasonable accommodations be provided to qualified individuals with disabilities in certain circumstances, also covered by the regulations. Section 504 and Titles I and II of the ADA. So in a recent update to Section 188, each state's governor is required to do an annual assessment of the job center's system's adherence to WIOA Section 188 equal opportunity and non-discrimination language. The WIOA also encourages financial literacy as a career service, increasing the capacity of an individual to make informed financial decisions and to transform those decisions into desired actions in an effort to reach financial independence. Career pathways and financial literacy have identical long-term goals to assist an individual in becoming a self-sufficient member of their community. And as the individual moves toward earning a living wage, those individuals with little or no experience with saving, budgeting, or banking will benefit greatly from education and support to break the cycle of poverty. Go to the next slide. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dave to take us further into what is a career pathway system. Dave?
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, so a career pathway system, we're going to define the system so we can all have the same context moving forward. As we know, different systems and different providers have different definitions of the career pathway system. So I wanted to make sure that we're on the official Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act definition. So a career pathway system is a system that supports design, implementation, and sustainability of career pathways that represent a combination of rigorous and high-quality education, training, and other services that also align with the skill needs of industries in the economy of the state or region involved, prepare an individual to be successful in any of a full range of secondary or post-secondary education options, including registered apprenticeships, include counseling to support an individual in achieving education and career goals, include, as appropriate, education offered concurrently with and in the same context as workforce preparation activities. Go to the next.
Would you like me to read this one, Dave?
Sure.
All right. So the next couple are organizing education, training, and other services in a manner that accelerates the individual's educational and career advancements to the extent that's practicable, enabling an individual to attain a secondary school diploma or its recognized equivalent and at least one recognized post-secondary credential, and helping an individual enter or advance within a specific occupation or occupational cluster. So Dave, I'll hand it over to you. Why career pathways, Dave?
Well, now we know what career pathways are and we're all on the same page, so let's talk about why career pathways are so important. First and foremost, career pathways align well with sector strategies, which is one of the major strategies within the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. The WIOA definition of career pathways articulates the interdependence of career pathway programming with those industry sector strategies talked about in WIOA and identifies the specific features and functions of a career pathways program. WIOA requires state and local collaboration to establish career pathway systems. Under WIOA, state boards are responsible for aligning core partners in developing and approving the workforce system through the creation of career pathways. Career pathways plans must be consistent with the unified or combined state plan, which is required in WIOA. Systems must also be in alignment for successful sector partnerships and career pathway systems. And to facilitate a new system focus, there needs to be a major change in mindset, as we all know. Developing career pathways involves a process, sometimes an excruciating process, of coordinating, connecting different parts of multiple public and private services and activities to make up a comprehensive education and training system, tall tale. WIOA increases the emphasis on cross-system alignment, strategic planning, performance measurement, and data collection and utilization. And finally, most definitely not least, employer involvement is essential to the ongoing success of a career pathway system. To ensure continued relevance to labor market demand, employer input should be gathered throughout the life of the career pathway system, not just up front in the initial planning phases. Some ways that states and regions can engage employers for the long term include gathering input and data to analyze career opportunities, convening employers to discuss their needs, recognizing the contributions of their employer partners, and ensuring that employers understand their return to investment and participation in a career pathway system. Next. So Miranda, why don't you tell us how career pathway systems work?
Well, I tell you what, I'll get us started, but you can take us on the deep dive. How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. So career pathway systems, let's talk about them. So career pathway systems are a series of connected education and training and support strategies that enable individuals to secure industry-relevant certification and obtain jobs within an occupational area. That's what it says on this slide, and that's what that is. But career pathway systems at the systems level, career pathways development is a broad approach for serving populations that may experience significant barriers to employment and can substantively alter the way that the workforce system delivers its services and its relationship with partner organizations and stakeholders. Career pathway systems also offer an effective approach to the development of a skilled workforce by increasing the number of workers in the U.S. who gain industry-recognized and academic credentials necessary to work in jobs that are in demand. That's pretty key. They also offer a more efficient and customer-centered approach to workforce development because they structure intentional connections among employers, adult basic education, support service providers, occupational training, and post-secondary education programs, and design the systems to meet the needs of learners and employers. Gee, that sounds a little bit like something else we're working on here, huh? Right. We're kind of giving you some clues to the rest of the presentation here. So let's take a look at this next slide and this lovely framework here. According to Dave, this is the most famous slide in Career Pathways history, and I'll trust him because he's our DEI subject matter expert on this. So this slide just shows the connection between the 6 key elements, which we'll be diving into more in the rest of the presentation, and how they interrelate to a primary focus of WIOA. The framework needs to first be established at the systems level and then implemented at the program level with each individual career pathway program. And this ultimately benefits the participant in the program as they seek to achieve their career goals. So let's take a quick look at those 6 key elements here on this chart, and then we'll get started on the first one. So we've got building cross-agency partnerships, which leads to identifying industry sector and engaging employers, designing education and training programs, and then identifying funding needs and sources, aligning policies and programs, and then measuring systems change and performance. So let's take a look at the first one there. Building, which is Career Pathways Element 1, building cross-agency partnerships. This is where a cross-agency leadership team clarifies the roles and responsibilities of each partner and gains high-level support from political leaders for an integrated career pathways system. I'm very happy to be handing it over to Dave so he can walk us through what that is. Dave?
Thank you, Miranda. Appreciate that. I just wanted to kind of set the tone here. As I go through each one of the components of each career pathways element, it's important for each of you to understand that this is a strategy cultivated by the National Career Pathways experts that were gathered by Department of Labor over the last several years to assist states and regions in developing the career pathways models that satisfy both in the past WIA and now WIOA regulations. This information can be found in the current Career Pathways Toolkit, which you can find in our resources here and most definitely on Workforce GPS. As members of the WIOA system, the state and regional DEI team and its partners need a clear picture of the steps their state and regional existing career pathways models took to design them to their current status. Many of these components have been adequately addressed by existing state teams, so recognize that the DEI team's goal is not to create an inclusive career pathway system from scratch, but to use the knowledge gained from learning the existing system's development, devising strategies to help increase its capacity to serve all job seekers. So with Career Pathways Element 1, in talking about building cross-agency partnerships, which is most definitely a primary tenet of WIOA, some of the key components include engaging cross-agency partners and employers, so everybody knows what each other does and getting to know that they do have something to lend to one another. Establishing shared vision, mission, and a set of goals within the career pathway system, defining roles and responsibilities of all the partners, and developing a career pathway partnership work plan and or MOUs when they're needed. Sometimes that's just something that some systems need to have in place before they can actually talk with one another. Obviously, the less formal we are, the more we feel that we can get to the root of what it is that we're attempting to do. Hey Miranda, what's element 2?
I'm so glad you asked. It's identifying sector and industry and sector or industry and engaging business. So this is where sectors and industries are selected and are partners and co-investors in the development of career pathway systems, which seems like a bit of a shift in how it used to be, right, Dave?
It most certainly does.
Why don't you tell us more about the key components that are included in this element 2?
Why, I'd be honored. So first and foremost, the key component is conducting labor market analysis to target high demand and growing industries. We know that the skillful use of labor market information is an effective way to manage risk and ensure that industries chosen for the career pathways will provide the best return on investment. Secondly, survey and engage key industry leaders from target industries and sector partnerships. By leveraging existing sector partnerships, we can connect the career pathways leadership to the needs and the interests of employers. And third, clarifying the role of employers in the development of the operation of programs. Key employers will accept multiple roles and contribute in the development of career pathways programs. As they know, the greater the role of the employer, the more likely the career pathways program will meet industry needs. Next. 4, identify existing training systems within the industry as well as the natural progression and or mobility. Employers train employees on the job and provide formal and experiential learning to help them acquire skills. To augment industry programs, career pathway system must understand the type of training that's available within industry already, not just within training programs, but what the industry sectors already have in place, and align curriculum to meet changing industry standards. Number 5 is identifying the skill competencies and associated training needs by asking right questions and identifying skill requirements to perform the essential functions of a job is what gives the employer a competitive advantage against its competitors. And last, sustaining and expanding business partnerships. Strong, reliable relationships with employers require a routine series of communications and actions in order to ensure continued commitment from business partners and that they see that there is true value in that partnership. Hey, Miranda, doesn't this really sound familiar?
You know, it really does. It's syncing up a lot with something else we spend a lot of time on, isn't it?
Yeah, that DEI thing, yeah.
Maybe. Well, let's keep going because I think this also segues into something else where we can have an impact too. Let's talk about that career pathways element 3, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right, so element 3 is where we're designing education and training programs. This is where career pathways programs, they really provide that clear sequence of education courses and credentials that meet the skill needs of high demand industries. I bet DEI can have something to do with this too, but why don't I go ahead and hand it over to you so you can tell us what those key components of designing education and training programs look like. So this slide is all you, Dave.
I appreciate that. The key components here definitely are in many ways deeper than what the DEI Career Pathways team will be going into, but I'm going to read the components and how the state set up the career pathway strategies for the system for the whole state. So first, the first key component of designing education and training program is to identify and engage education and training partners, identifying target populations, entry points, and recruitment strategies. A very important part of this are the entry points into the career pathways training models. And third, review, develop, or modify competency models with employers. Develop and validate career ladders and latitudes. Element 3 is an area that most likely will be addressed intently by the state's chosen career pathway training system. There are, however, opportunities for the DEI team to lend their resources and expertise to the existing career pathways model that will most likely have service delivery gaps that can prevent job seekers from fully achieving their career pathways goals. The second component area is where the DEI team can assist by introducing job seekers with disabilities to existing career pathways and assisting in recruiting job-ready candidates, something that employers are always looking for. Next. Components 4 through 7, develop or modify programs to ensure they meet industry-recognized credentials. Number 5 is analyze the state and regional education and training resource and response capability. 6 is research and promote work-based learning opportunities, something we talk about a lot, on-the-job training, work experience, job shadowing, and how we promote that within business and industry. And 7 is providing flexible delivery methods. I want to focus on the 7th component here, because normal college and university schedules and semester coursework with limited summer offerings do not meet the urgency of many non-traditional students, including people with disabilities, but they have to obtain a credential and find a job. Flexibility in program offerings means more than class schedules. It also includes e-learning and work-based learning that allows students to progress at their own speed based on their abilities and time availability. Computer-based or web-based lessons allow learners with disabilities and difficulties with transportation study at times that fit their schedule. A few of the flexible service delivery strategies include offering non-semester-based classes, offering classes in the evening and on weekends, offering alternative locations for training, including offerings at employers' work sites, and offering credit for prior learning. We'll go to the next slide. The last 3 components are developing integrated, accelerated, contextualized learning strategies, providing career services, case management, and comprehensive support services, and providing employment assistance and retention services. Everybody's kind of drooling right now because this really sounds like our work right here. All 3 of these components lend a potential benefit to existing career pathways models. Maybe the most relevant connection is the 10th component. Employment assistance and retention may include workforce readiness and preparation, including resume writing, cover letters, job interviewing skills, and soft skills training. Pre-employment connections to the industry, including internships, co-op programs, work and study programs, work experience, and job shadowing. Job search assistance, such as navigating job banks, as well as techniques in searching the hidden job market. Job retention skills, such as taking direction, job-appropriate behaviors, problem-solving techniques, and attendance. And special accommodations, such as reading software for the blind, on-the-job coaching, and workspace modifications. Title I staff and DEI partner providers have these resources and expertise and can work with existing career pathway systems to implement the use of these services into their current programs. Hey, Miranda, what's Element 4 all about?
Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk about Element 4 because Elements 1 through 3, it's kind of a connecting the dots thing here, right?
Sure.
And Element 4 is just going to take us further. So Element 4 is identifying funding needs and sources where necessary resources are raised and are leveraged to develop, operate, and sustain the career pathways system and programs. We do some leveraging over here on the DEI, don't we? Let's go ahead and we access those resources. This is sounding like it's syncing up pretty nicely, isn't it?
Pretty clean, definitely.
Okay, so here you go, Dave. You can talk about those key components under identifying funding needs and sources.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. You know, this is an area that we talk about a lot through the DEI project, or where are those needs and sources that are available, those resources that are so valuable to the end result of our customers. So the key components for Element 4 are to identify costs associated with system and program development and operation, identifying sources of funding available from partner agencies and related public and private resources and secure funding. That would be us, most definitely. So in identifying funding needs and sources, the DEI team and partners can research existing career pathways' current operational costs and offer assistance with any available funding streams to bridge some current gaps in funding. And third, of course, very important, is to develop that long-term sustainability plan for career pathways models with state or local partners. In regard to developing that sustainability plan, the DEI team and partners will be able to help identify and secure needed sustainable resources that weren't necessarily a part of the career pathways existing model. Can you share element 5 with us, Miranda?
You know, 5 starts to bring it all together, where you're aligning policies and programs. So all the steps before get you here, where you're aligning policies and programs, and the state and local policies and administrative reforms. This is where they've been revised to align with implementation of a career pathways system. It all comes together. So Dave, the key components to discuss that are yours. Here you go.
Thank you so much. So for aligning policies and programs, key components include identifying state and local policies necessary to implement career pathway systems, identify and pursue needed reforms in state and local policy, and implement statutory and administrative procedures to facilitate cross-agency collaboration. Element 5, as you're saying to yourself, well, this isn't our purview. Element 5 is clearly a function of a state workforce development board. Existing laws, regulations, and policies associated with workforce development in each state may require substantial change to implement a state career pathway system. The DEI team may have little or no direct effect on state policies, but by becoming a valued partner to the existing state career pathways team, they can offer input and direction based on their experience of serving job seekers with multiple barriers to employment. This will allow the state career pathway system to learn and grow. And Miranda, isn't there an element 6?
You know, there is an element 6, and it's the one where we really bring it home, right, Dave?
Pretty much. Pretty
much. It's a big important element. Measuring systems change in performance, because where are we without that? This is where appropriate measures and evaluation methods are in place to support continuous improvement of the career pathways system, right? Because we all know the biggest room in the world is what? Room for improvement. And this is how we go about doing that. So Dave, take it away.
I always thought it was the master bedroom, but I guess you're right. It is room for So with measuring system change and performance, this is something that, once again, as it was in element 5, state leadership will ultimately identify outcome expectations for its career pathways programs and systems. So let's talk about the components that are utilized in element 6. The first is the desired system program and participant outcomes, which is a huge part of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, are those common outcomes. Number 2 is identifying the data needed to measure system, program, and participant outcomes. 3 is to implement a process to collect, store, and track, share, and analyze data. And lastly, design and implement the plan for reporting system and program outcomes. We're all aware that a major principle of WIOA is providing quantitative outcomes and evidence-based practices to increase the capacity of all systems to provide services that lead to successful employment and career paths. Measuring the impact of comprehensive system change is critical to sustaining the support necessary for carrying out a career pathways approach to education and training. By developing a working relationship with the existing career pathways models in each state, DEI teams can use the outcome data and promising career pathways practices to implement a replicable training strategy, encouraging states and regions that have not focused career pathways models on job seekers with disabilities to follow suit. I believe we're all out of elements. Is that correct, Miranda?
Yeah, we really went through those in this half hour. We've got some time to get into some other things here, which we might need. So I think I'm going to take it away from you here for just a moment, Dave, and talk about set you up so that you can talk further about assessing the alignment of DEI strategies and the state career pathways model.
Sounds good.
So here we have in front of you, what would a state-level DEI career pathways team look like? This is where state teams support the local team. A state team supports the local teams and assists in the development of an administrative and regulatory environment that aids the local level implementation and statewide development of an inclusive career pathways system. So WIOA puts an emphasis on active endorsement of career pathways systems by the governor and the State Workforce Development Board, suggesting that they provide leadership to promote or steer the partnerships that are necessary to build and sustain a state-level career pathways system. And to be most effective, the state-level representatives on the cross-agency leadership team include, at a minimum, from the state agencies responsible for workforce development, health and human services, secondary and post-secondary education, adult basic education, economic development, rehabilitation services, and employment first. So Dave, I wonder if you can help us understand some expectations around this.
I sure can try, Miranda. So first and foremost, one of the important pieces for us as a Career Pathways DEI team will be to review the state's unified or combined WIOA state plan, to understand where within the plan the state focuses on strategies for career pathways and how it combines with its disability and other multiple barrier population strategies. Having this information will help us to get a baseline for where the state is supposed to end up and allows us to take a look at how we can then align those processes. Second, we definitely want to know what the DEI statement of work is and what those strategies are that we are using right now to promote career pathway systems. What have we written in there and how we are going to partner and utilize the resources available to improve the processes of an inclusive career pathway system. Then we want to reach out to state workforce boards. We want to figure out who or what those strategies are, a clarification of whether or not there have been any changes to the strategy since the plan was released back last year. And lastly, we will contact that lead state career pathways agency or agencies, which that information we will be able to get from the State Workforce Board, hopefully, so we can find out what the current status of where the model is and what is currently running within the state as far as career pathways systems and models. Next slide. So for us to assess, for the career pathways DEI team to assess state and regional career pathways models, you need to identify the state and regional career pathways system partners. Once the career pathways DEI team has a clear picture of the state's overall career pathways system strategy, the career pathways DEI team can identify who's currently involved in the career pathways system development for the state. Next, exploring career pathways system mission, vision, and goals. This is an opportunity for the DEI Career Pathways team to get to know the big picture objectives of the state career pathways system, as well as the mission, vision, and goals of the existing career pathways partners. We want to know if there are any ulterior goals that might not align right now with the career pathways system at state level, so we can help to kind of align them more effectively for the majority of our participants. Next, the state DEI team completes the DEI Career Pathways Readiness Assessment Tool. First we're going to distinguish existing career pathways model strengths and challenges. The DEI Career Pathways team can come together to identify areas of strength and concern in the existing career pathway system. This will help the team to develop a baseline of current gaps and needs of the career pathway systems on which they can focus. Now we'll talk about the Career Pathways Readiness Assessment Tool. And to effectively measure the current capacity to align itself with the state's existing career pathway system, the Career Pathways DEI team can use this Career Pathways Readiness Assessment tool, which is available on Workforce GPS. The tool will help the team recognize the areas of the Career Pathway system where they can contribute and bring value to the state's existing Career Pathways approach. It will also find places where the Career Pathways DEI team may need some more work to get to a place where they are comfortable at talking about those career pathways elements and components. And then finally, an action plan will focus on ensuring progress toward a more inclusive career pathway system, and inclusive is definitely the prime word here. After completing the readiness assessment, the tool itself includes a template to lay out an action plan, prepare itself to effectively align the DEI strategies with the state's career pathways model as it sits now. Next. So let's talk a little bit more about why the alignment between the DEI and career pathway strategies can greatly benefit an existing career pathway system. We can do that right now. So benefits of career pathways. Number one is transforming employers from customers to partners to co-leaders, finding educational offerings with business needs. So see, career pathway systems engage businesses in the development of the educational programs up front by helping to transform the role of employers from a customer, as it's been for many years, to a partner, and then of course to a co-leader and co-investor in the development of the workforce. Employers have a high stake in the development of career pathways that lead to an increase in their pipeline of qualifying workers, which is something that we hear very often as they are looking for people to fill those positions that they're most in need of. Next, it offers a more efficient and customer-centered approach to workforce development because career pathways structure intentional connections among employers, adult basic education, support service providers, occupational training, and post-secondary education programs, and design the systems to meet the needs of learners and employers. It also discourages different pathways for multiple systems. One of the things that we talk about doing the same thing over and over again, wasting lots of resources, this is an area where we can really benefit from that because we develop a system that draws from the strengths of each agency. WIOA partners can more effectively create a service delivery process that allows for one pathway for each job seeker. And then finally, promoting an integrated service delivery flow. WIOA encourages states to align state resources to support integrated service delivery across federal and state funding streams and to ensure that interested partners and agencies, whether focused on education, workforce development, or another type of human or social service, are aware of this joint commitment for improved collaboration and coordination across programs and funding sources. Next. So the value of the career pathways and DEI systems alignment, we've talked a lot about just the benefits of career pathways, but how do they make that connection? First, the DEI career pathways alignment will increase business community awareness of benefits and return on investment of hiring people with disabilities, as well as how to recruit skilled job seekers with disabilities. It will also integrate system changes by ensuring inclusivity in service delivery design and in relevant programs serving persons with disabilities. And it will also establish measurable goals, aligning policies, practices, and leverage funding across systems as much as possible to expand the capacity of the public workforce system and its partners to provide integrated career pathways programs, establishing measurable goals that will increase participation of people with disabilities in career pathway systems and programs, and of course, developing strong evaluation methods to determine successful outcomes and models which can be replicated and expanded after DEI goes away. Next. So let's talk a little bit about what we've come through. Here's some final thoughts to spark ideas and start conversations for your DEI and Career Pathways team. First and foremost, don't start from square one. There's no new wheels to be invented here. More than likely, your state workforce development board and Career Pathways leadership has a strong strategic plan to implement career pathway strategies. You can benefit greatly from their excellent work and use your expertise and resources to strengthen the existing career pathway system. You also might find out that there are new career pathways models that may be appropriate in certain situations. Don't count out the possibility of working with the DEI Career Pathways team to develop and implement new career pathways models that fit the skills and abilities of job seekers with disabilities and specific needs of employers seeking qualified employees. Invite all disability service providers to the table. Don't count out the possibility of working with the career path. Know your existing career pathway system. Without a clear understanding of the career pathways model, it will be next to impossible to effectively align current DEI and current CB strategies. Be sure to invite all disability and social service providers who share common customers. Valuable resources and expertise is found in the most unassuming places, such as the independent living centers, protection and advocacy groups, assistive technology providers, just to name a few. Next, I just threw this one in for giggles. Building inclusive career pathways models aren't only good for all, but they're also required. It's not just a great idea, but it's the law. And finally, focus on your value to existing career pathway models. Through research in your state existing career pathways model, the DEI Career Pathways team can develop and present strategies to increase the current system's capacity to deliver a more inclusive model. With an abundance of knowledge and resources, many gaps in existing services will be bridged. Miranda, I turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Dave. We have plenty of time if there are any questions or comments from those of you who are joining us from all parts of the land. This is your time, so we would love to hear from you. If you do have any questions or comments, there's a number of ways you can engage us. We'd love to hear your voices. So if you raise your hand over in the right-hand side, I can unmute your line, and we can hear from you and your experience with career pathways to date and engaging at the systems level with career pathways. You can also chat us or put a Q&A question in the Q&A box, and we will verbalize that for you, and Dave will be the one who answers that. So we'll go ahead and give you a minute to do that. We are, just a quick heads up, I hope all of you know and are signed up for our Thursday presentation. We're going to be talking about intersecting DEI career pathways strategies at the program level. So we'll be diving even deeper. We'll give folks a moment here to type in their comments or questions into the chat or figure out how to raise their hand. And similarly, it may just be that we've broken it down enough that this is all really crystal clear and you're all doing this already. So if that's the case, don't raise your hand or don't put a question or comment in the... You like how I make assumptions, Dave, about our group here? They're a bright group. It's entirely possible.
Many have heard this already, or a lot of it already, so it's a good refresher for many.
Right, and a good way. We do have a good crew joining us today, a good number of folks, and we thank you for your time today. We'll keep the line open for another minute or two. I'm going to go ahead and post the PowerPoint, and you can use this PowerPoint in your own discussions with folks that you might be bringing to the table. I'm going to do, let's see. Are you seeing anything coming in, Dave?
Nothing.
Okay. I'm going to see if I can go in here and find today's training, and you can download it on your computer from the platform. If you cannot find it, you can always send us a, there you go. Are you seeing that in front of your screen there, Dave? The file transfer? Great. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and talk about our resources here. There are a number of resources on this last slide, and another reason you'll want to download the PowerPoint today. We've got the Training Employment Notice on Career Pathways Toolkit, an enhanced guide and workbook for system development. I'm sure you're all intimately familiar with that. We also have our DEI Career Pathways Readiness Assessment Tool that your TA may have been working on with you, as well as there's the link for the Workforce GPS Career Pathways Community of Practice. And finally, integrating and implementing Career Pathways Apprenticeship within a sector strategy. So those are some of the resources for you. We also have, and I meant to put a slide on here for our training on Thursday, but we do have a lot of folks signed up for that. I'm hoping this crew is all signed up for Thursday as well, 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern, same bat time, same bat channel.
And when we get more specific, I'm hoping that there'll be more interaction talking about what's going on the ground.
Yeah. That program level presentation would seem to be another place to really invite this, certainly. So please, folks, come prepared to, you know, bring your questions, your comments, what it is that you're doing and working on, anything you're having success with or anything you're struggling with, right, Dave?
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do, is get everybody feeling confident at the next steps.
All right. Well, with that, it looks like we were incredibly efficient with our time here today. I'm going to go ahead and put our contact information up here. The hope is, of course, that all of these folks on this call with us know how to get in touch with us already. But if you don't, there it is, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd also ask that as you're leaving our presentation today, that you just take a moment and fill out, there's just a couple quick questions. It really helps us out if you can respond to those. We appreciate that greatly. And hoping that you enjoy the rest of your Monday. And thanks for being here with us today. Any last thoughts or comments, Dave?
Just looking forward to the 100-degree heat out here in California. So everybody stay cool.
Yeah, we'll be getting rain here later today in Boulder, Colorado. All right, folks. Thank you again. And we'll be closing out now. See you on Thursday.